Welcome to the OddsBreakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
We are at podcast 50-18. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can tweet me at Public Dog, or you can tweet us at the OddsBreakers. Did you guys hear of what happened to the owner of Five Dimes? Absolutely brutal. William Sean Creighton, also known as Five Dimes Tony. He resided in Costa Rica, where a lot of these offshore books are located. He's been missing for over a month now. He was forcibly abducted on September 24th by a couple of guys, and there's a ransom note. And we found out that his family paid some of that ransom, or if not some of it, I believe all of it. I think it was $750,000 worth of Bitcoin that they sent to Costa Rica. But apparently, that wasn't enough. And 43-year-old Creighton was found dead on Sunday. And how awful is that? You know, this man was a pioneer when it comes to making online-based sports books. And I cannot believe they paid the kidnappers $750,000 in Bitcoin, and they still killed him anyway. That is absolutely brutal. Five Dimes is one of the sites that I use personally, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure. I mean, these books are run by multiple people, but how sad is this story? Apparently, the kidnappers look like they're from Cuba because the bank account that they sent it to was in Cuba. And I believe that the police department in Costa Rica might already know who it is that did it. But how terrible is that? Even if you pay the ransom, it doesn't mean that you can get your loved one back like that. So I wanted to throw that out there because it's obviously has to do with betting, sports betting, and what a sad story. And, it makes you think twice about how fortunate you are if you don't live in some of these third world countries, and prayers to the family of Five Dimes Tony. Should you be looking for a sports book, please visit mybookie.ag. Use the promo code TheOddsBreakers for a 50% sign-up bonus. I actually think they're still doing the 100% because they haven't changed anything, and I asked them. But so if you want to check that out, you probably want to do it quickly. Use the promo code TheOddsBreakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, we'd love to help you out. Please become an OddsBreakers member by visiting theoddsbreakers.com and click on Patron Subscriber. And for $12.99 a month, you will be an OddsBreakers member. Get our premium picks when we make the plays before the line moves, as well as the podcast early. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. Well, let's get into it, my friends. On a lighter note, we have some awesome football this week. College football week 9 is rolling, and we have some free plays for you. Let's start it out in the Big Ten, our specialty. Well, my specialty. I mean, some other people do a few other conferences, and we're going to have Eddie Owens on today break down a few of his plays. He more specializes in the Big 12. But I'm going to start out with mine for the odds breakers. Purdue versus Michigan State. Michigan State laying 2 points. Does that tell you something? Well, since Purdue beat Ohio State and Michigan State lost to Michigan, that means Purdue should have an easy win here, right?
Wrong.
What was this line before last week, before they beat Ohio State? Michigan State by 5, by 6, 7, something like that. This is the perfect opportunity to take advantage of what we've always preached and the huge letdown spot that happens. Has Purdue improved since starting out 0-3, losing to those terrible teams such as Eastern Michigan, losing at home to Northwestern, losing to Missouri? Absolutely, they've improved. They have. But now they're playing a well-coached and pissed off Michigan State team who had just had a tough run of Northwestern, Penn State, and Michigan all back-to-back. You can throw out their stats, in my opinion, because Michigan State has played a harder schedule. Teams like Utah State, Arizona State at 3 in the morning or whatever. Mark D'Antonio also isn't going to let Rondale Moore whip his ass like Greg Schiano did, coordinating for Ohio State. He's not going to let that happen. He's going to key in on him. And he understands his talent. But a big key to this game here, too, is that Purdue may have lost their defensive tackle and run stopper, Lorenzo Neal. Big 300-pound guy. He clogs up the line, frees up the linebackers to make tackles, and he gets them half the time himself. If this is the case, then L.J. Scott for Michigan State may have a field day against this defense. Michigan State should run the ball, control the game, play that great defense that they have, play pissed off, and win this game by 6 points. We are taking Michigan State -2. That line might even get better for you, too. Iowa versus Penn State, laying 6.5 points. Let's just stay right here in the Big Ten, guys. All right. So this is a game that I think is going to take some people by surprise. It's kind of like the tale of two teams. One is on a downward trend, and one has really caught momentum. Iowa's a team that knows they are better than what they showed at the end of the game versus Wisconsin. They're -3 in the turnover battle, and they should have been the better team that day. Iowa has been blowing their opponents out by an average of 16.5 points since that game. And they haven't had to play those tomato cans that Penn State was fortunate enough to play. If you look at Penn State's schedule, they take advantage of the easy teams. They obviously almost got beat by Appalachian State that first game at home. They go to Pittsburgh and blow them out. Pittsburgh's gotten better. Kent State they played. They played Illinois and was actually tied or losing going into that fourth quarter. Then they had their Ohio State game that it was a night game that they lost at the end. And then, their schedule got harder. But then last week against Indiana, they lose to Michigan State. Then they have a tough game against Indiana and only win by 4 points. So 4 or 5 points, actually, 33-28. So, Iowa played Iowa State. They played Wisconsin, at Minnesota, at Indiana. At least they're road games, not great teams. Took Maryland and held them scoreless. Northern Iowa is usually a good team, and they beat them. Good FCS. Smoked Northern Illinois 33-7. Iowa's pretty battle-tested here. And they're really pissed off about last year's loss because they should have beat Penn State and they lost at the last seconds of that game. Last second touchdown throw by Trace McSorley. Penn State's defense has been quite average over the last 3 games, and they've given up 25 points per game versus conference opponents. Iowa gives up 19 points versus conference opponents. Now, my power ratings has Penn State by about 6 points, okay? That's what it has, right around this spread. But if you factor in the momentum for Iowa, the revenge spot for Iowa, they had Penn State dead nuts last year, like I said. And the fact that Penn State is looking ahead to their Michigan game next week, I have this more of a 2 to 3 point spread in favor of Penn State. But I also can't trust James Franklin in this spot. So I'll definitely take that points. I'll take those plus 6.5 points, no problem. And obviously, do not forget to
sprinkle that shit.
All right. Florida International versus Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky giving 4 points at home. FIU is a really sneaky good under the radar team this year. Okay. They are 5-1 against the spread and 1-0 as an away favorite. What I love about this team is that they're very well rounded. Good at rushing, good at passing. They do pretty well against the pass, not as great against the run. Maybe they allow about 4.5 rushing yards per play. But FIU's only weakness, I guess, is against the run from a matchup and metrics perspective, but that bodes well against Western Kentucky because the Hilltoppers only average 3.5 yards per run, and they are a passing team. So the metrics here, the matchup metrics between linebackers, safeties, cornerbacks, defending the pass is not that good for the Hilltoppers, and FIU should be able to take advantage of that. The problem also with Western Kentucky is that their quarterback, Drew Eccles, is banged up and is highly questionable for this game. If you look at the net yards per play, you take FIU's yards per play against what the Hilltoppers allow on defense, and then you take the difference between FIU's, what they allow on defense, and what the Hilltoppers get on offense, and FIU averages a 0.7 net yards per play better than Western Kentucky. That's pretty significant. So I have FIU as about a 10-point favorite here. All right. 13-point difference in the power ratings. I like FIU a lot, -4. This should be a -10 or worst case -7 spread. If the injury for Drew Eccles is real, then it should be even more. Florida International -4, big on that one. Texas A&M versus Mississippi State. Here is another situation where I favor the metrics and matchups over the power ratings, okay? I actually have the Aggies about a 2-point dog here versus Mississippi State, and Mississippi State is giving 3 points at home. But we have to dig deeper than the power ratings here. So basically I have Texas A&M about a point better in my power ratings. This is at Mississippi State. Texas A&M is coming off a bye week, which I really like here. Now, say what you want about Jimbo Fisher. Okay? I think we've all said what we wanted about him in his days at Florida State. But if you give him a bye week, he can certainly prepare a team to face this read option of Mississippi State. Hell, all he has to do is watch the LSU game and the Florida game. Now, if this isn't enough for you, then look up the past Mississippi State's cake non conference schedule.